People say a lot about our democracy.
It's not over. We're going to expect more.
Some say what they know.
Is it that we deceive ourselves or not willing to discuss our differences?
Others say what they think is right.
The political will to effect that law is what we are lacking.
It takes 3 persons to eat 15 naira bread. I disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
Immediately the president won election, he went to Britain. He has not gone to Rivers State. He has not gone to Benue. He has not gone to this country.
Join Kingsley Wellenda Wali every Saturday on this station from 11 a.m. to 12.
My name is Kingsley Wellenda Wali.
And the program is Democracy in Action on Today 95.1 FM. Port Harcourt.
I believe in you. Do you believe in me?
Good morning and welcome to Democracy in Action. My name is Kingsley Wellenda Wali. Over the period, we've had to contend with a couple of issues that border on democracy, good governance, economy, and the general well-being of our society. But like they say, the government owes the citizenry a fundamental obligation, that is the well-being, social well-being of the citizenry and security. But there's a corresponding responsibility by the people to ensure that we all live in harmony, very secure. This morning on Democracy in Action, we'll be discussing government, democracy, and security. Emphatically on the nexus between insecurity and the type of politics we play, with Rivers State and particularly Port Harcourt as our contact, like they say in the Christian world. Most of us who have the benefit of being born here, schooled here, and currently reside and do business in Port Harcourt are very appalled at the level of insecurity in the town. Quite understandably, most people have traced it to the level of acrimony within the political climate. And not a few are worried about the possibility that there's a systematic effort to demarket Port Harcourt. How true that is, I'm not too sure. I know, but to discuss that and other issues related this morning with me in the studio, Mrs. Ivy Davis Etok Akman, Ivy for short. Madam, you're welcome to Democracy in Action.
Thank you. Good morning.
Did you hear that? Thank you. Something different. Thank you. Good morning. Not all those very harsh.
How am I supposed to
My
say?
name is this. Bah.
No, Port Harcourt girl. Thank you. Good morning.
You're welcome.
Brought up.
Now compare this. Sorry, I forgot to mention Ivy is the Chief Executive or Chief Operating Officer of Eve Afrique, and she's particularly been doing a lot of work on the sickle cell, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, health issues. Every year we have a team. Yeah.
Health issues, including economy too.
Yes.
So that you can
issues that touch
have
people.
economic health issues. Are you welcome to the program?
You don't look it. Thank you, Kingsley.
With us here this morning, it's Bomo Alberto Guara, a development analyst and social commentator. Bomo, you're welcome.
Good morning once again. Thanks for
all the way from New Jersey is Professor Yala Peterside, a professor of medicine, who has been particularly worried about the state of affairs in his home state. Prof, good morning.
Good morning.
How is New Jersey this morning?
And Chris Christie.
A little cold, a little chilly, like English would say, but the temperature is about 58
Okay. A bit of this and a bit of that.
Is he awake? I mean,
Yeah.
you have to wake up.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. Welcome to the program.
Yes, 5 or 6 o'clock.
I'll start with you.
Okay, sir.
You were born here,
Yes.
and if I'm not mistaken, your father was involved in politics in the Second Republic.
Yes, he was.
Very actively involved.
Yes, he was.
Did you feel the same sense of insecurity then growing up in a family that had a strong politician, just as you feel now?
Definitely not.
What do you think are the issues?
Oh, the issues. For me, I think the issues basically, the first issue is lack of, loss of value. Loss of value and loss of leadership. Because if we look back, we recall that at the time you're referring to, Kingsley, we had values. Love was principally the spirit that ruled River State, that ruled Port Harcourt. So even if at that time we had families in NPN, we had what was NPP and all that, we didn't even know the demarcations, you know. We were just happy. We were just Port Harcourt people happy. It didn't matter where our parents, you know, what parties they belonged to. The wives also, it didn't matter, because you recall that in church, the Cypress Church at the time, even in the, you know, village meetings that we had at the time, we didn't know these demarcations though. We didn't know. So I call it, I see it as, first of all, loss of values for the things that matter most in life. 1, 2, and then a loss of leadership, because you look at our society now, we don't even have leaders. We don't have community leaders. We don't really have political leaders. And political leadership, I'm not referring to the head of the party, as in the man with all the money. No. In those days, we used to have political leaders, you know.
People who had love.
Yeah. Who could give a guideline to the party, as in, this is the way we behave, this is the way we behave, and things like that. But we don't seem to see those things nowadays. Nowadays, what we saw was the head man who had all the money, who has all the money, and every other person just trying to impress him, you know, and it didn't matter what was standing in their way.
Every other person trying to be loyal.
Well, that's the word they use.
That's the word.
But he's impressed in actuality. Just wanting him to be so happy with me that my purse is never empty, and in that regard, there's no limits
to what they can do. Just to impress.
Just to impress.
Prof, I'll be coming to you here. Hello, Prof.
Yes,
You left Port Harcourt a couple of years ago. How disappointed are you with the level of hate, if you like, and the level of politicking that's happening in your home state?
Man who's taking up in Port Harcourt, my family, and growing up, our values are different. I wanted to go to school, competed for positions in class, and that was our calling card. Unfortunately, we have seen a change in values, and there's several reasons for that.
What do you think are these several reasons that are responsible for the decay in our value system?
It's several fold. One, obviously, is poverty. That the difference in which the haves and the have-not widens. And 2, there's that urge to get big very, very strong. People are stealing, young people are stealing. Politicians go from no job, get a position, get rich very fast, and they're left behind, and everybody's trying to compete to make ends meet. The third one, obviously, and in relation to the present politics, is that the winner-take-all mentality that's prevailing in our politics, where to do or die, every position to do or die, and people can see that the difference between winning and losing is so much that our politicians are willing to do whatever it takes to win. And that brings in violence, obviously when you use violence to win, those boys are left behind. They have to make ends meet when you are finally commissioner, governor, because of them general as it were, and now you don't have any usually a problem. They get used to the money that you give them, the arms that you give them, now they put excuse terrorize our citizens. So it's a combination of factors, values, get rich quick mentality. I don't know if we have politics and our politicians, the way they play. In other times, politics is not an end itself. Politics is not a means to riches. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, politics is the easiest way to become rich now. So the combination of those factors makes creates a very, very unstable situation. Obviously, we're not talking about the issue of our security of forces being ill-equipped, inefficient, corrupt, and therefore not able to combat this violence that raised our society. So there's a combination of factors, but I think that as citizens we have to resist. We have to say enough is enough, and the way to say it is to begin to push back on some of those things that happen.
Okay, I'll get back to you, Prof. Bomo, Ivy says that basically that our issue here is that we've lost our values. Prof seems to be on all fours with her on that. Do you think there's a direct relationship between the hate politics, the language of politics? Because basically, politics is all about disagreements, right? Because if everybody agreed on one mode of transporting or the vehicle for delivering governance, good governance, we won't have different political parties. We won't have elections. But because people disagree, so you have different platforms to ventilate your disagreement.
Which is perfectly normal.
In order. So the problem is the language.
Language is a bitch. That's why I say. Because most times when you use it, when it comes out of your mouth, it becomes different, when it goes out. It bends and twists, and then it delivers the kind of things you didn't intend. Now, basically, I will agree with the two positions, but I would say it's more of a symptom of something, deeper. The society is fractured, yes. It's more like social atomism, whereby when you don't have a direction, in terms of social cohesion, you don't have a direction, the society does not agree, on the basis of consensus as to how it should be directed. Everybody begins to work on the self-preservation button.
Just like a prof said, that
self-preservation
it's becoming an end itself.
Yeah, it kicks in. And unfortunately, the Rivers State politics is played on steroids. Steroids politics. And that is why you can't find a middle ground between the two extremities. We need to, like I said on the wall, we need to get to the middle of the ground, because that is where the solution is. Consensus is the key. The two individuals driving the narrative right now, by sheer coincidence, are from one stock. Thank God for that. If it was the unsettled issue of the riverine upland dichotomy, it would have been worse. But ironically, both of them are from one stock. So you ask yourself, what really is the issue? If it's the interest of the states that they are projecting, I think that's not the message being sent.
Because if they are from different stocks, we'll be saying that people are pushing their ethnic agenda.
Precisely. But right now they're of the same stock. But then you are not even seeing the consensus from both ends. Now, I sent something into the world yesterday, the soundbite from New. You know what I mean? And you asked me, word or action? And I asked you, ask him. Because the difference between what we say and what we do, the gap is so wide. And that's why we have this mess. Most of the times they hate even speeches that come out. Actually, they say it to rile you. but deep down, they may not even mean it. Sometimes.
So does it have anything to do with education?
Education or mode of business?
No. Why I say education, it's foundational. The way you were brought up,
Definitely.
both from the house
Definitely,
and the school.
definitely.
For
It
both
plays-
formal and informal education.
Definitely, it's playing a huge part, a huge role. Yeah, definitely, it's playing a huge role because not to bring down anybody, but the stock of people. I mean, you look at it. But Boma, I was going to ask. You see, this insecurity in Rivers State, we seem to restrict it to what's happening on land. What about what's happening on water over the years? Because over the years, Kingsley, the insecurity never ebbed. On land,
So what you're saying, in essence, is not just a byproduct of what is happening now.
No.
It's been with us for a while.
Yes.
How long ago?
From ever since 2003, I don't know when that militancy started. That season, it never ebbed, because yes, on land we seemed to have security, but on water, I know that most of the companies doing business, you know, whenever they had to go from point A to point B, they went with gunboats. Every company doing business in Rivers State, serious-minded company in the oil and gas sector, have gunboats. They have 24-hour security soldiers. They have all manner of security apparatus. They have kingpins that they pay in order to be able to have access on the waterway. So yeah, we are seeing this one that is on land now. It has come to the land because there's an overflow. But did this security
It's been there with
did we
us.
really capture it? I don't think we have. That's why I'm thinking that this thing is more than politics.
Okay.
It's more than politics. I would say that yes, there's an
Let's not
attempt
say
to-
more than politics. It's more than the politics that we think it is.
Okay,
Maybe there are
fine.
other kinds of politics, economic politics.
Yeah, thank you. That you're right. It's more than this one we are seeing. The one between the APC and PDP.
PDP.
precisely.
But you can say it's driven,
Yeah.
it's politically driven, in the sense that not between two parties competing, for power, but now more like individuals, like we've said now, fighting to get a stake from the state, not River State, but the state as in Nigeria, because they see themselves they are
it's still part of-
they are-
it's all
they are
about the national
disempowered,
cake.
they are
I
disempowered,
want to
they
believe
don't
so.
have a say in what is going on in their lives, and the only way they can deal with it is to attack the oil companies that they see representing that
Now, Bob,
their
you're
very
taking us,
state
you're
power.
taking us to the so-called resource control struggle, right?
It's a byproduct.
Yes, I believe so as well.
Yeah.
It's
You were going to say something.
Yeah, when I jump in here, can we go back a little bit? We have played politics in Nigeria and the Rivers in particular for many, many years. And it was not as violent as this. The insecurity was not as much. So let's go back a little bit to when did this level of insecurity start, and when, if you go back to the orderly regime, that's about when this violence and thuggery started. If you go back a little bit, Okido was governor. There was elections. We didn't have the degree of thuggery. We did not have the degree of violence. It's almost, you can trace it to about when the ex-governor Odyssey became governor.
But if you have to stretch it back a little bit, in 1999 when he came into office as governor, we didn't have that level of greed politics, did we?
No, we did not.
Okay.
We did not. But subsequent to when he in his first term and his second term, kidnapping, robbery had started creeping up. Remember, that's when Marshall died. That's when all of that started. It's exponentially grown. And the question is, why?
You know that about that time.
When Rivers people have this loving people, what has happened since then? And what has happened, I think, is that the politicians have sold their soul for a piece of the cake. And it's coming home to we're coming, this violence is coming home to us. And progressive government have been emboldened to compete in a do or die fashion. And it's the same people, it's the same group of people, the empowering, unempowered youth, uneducated youth, poor people And now we are all feeling the pinch. Before he was isolated. You know, he was isolated.
In summary, what you're saying is that this level of violence gained prominence or currency in 2003.
Yes.
Which means that somebody or some group of people were desperate to maintain power. I mean,
and also about this time, as a people, we became more aware of our stake in the Nigerian state. Let's not forget that.
Okay.
You know, this was also about the time when we had Asari Dokubo and his, I don't know what they call them.
Right,
you know, people began to say that, you know, in the Nigerian states, we are not having as much as, you know, we ought to have been, that we are the ones that are this and that and all that. So I won't blaming it all on the politicians. To me, it's like a woman who, you know, blames the state of her home to her house help. Madam, when madam comes to say that my house is not so clean, it's my house help's fault. It's not your house help's fault. It's your fault to a large extent, because you drive, you know, what happens in your home. So if, you know, Oga comes and the house is so dirty and she keeps saying, nah, kaite, nah, this, nah, that, I don't think that she's a responsible woman. So what am I trying to say? It's a
collective
big
problem.
Yeah.
But we'll have to find a way.
Yes, and you know, to a large extent, the Nigerian state in itself is a little bit guilty in all of this. We are also guilty in the sense that as a people, our people refuse to go to school to be educated so much. I am from Tombia, so I know what I'm talking about. When I look at the number of youths that went to school as against the one that refused to go, and the fallout, the idle youths were always available for this. So very soon, when you told them that, when somebody say, look, your economy, you are at this level because so and so person is eating your father's whatever, of course you will rise up in arms. That's where this thing started. Let's not forget this. Yes, along the line, the politicians came and took advantage of what.
Excuse me. Rivers State is not any less educated than other states.
Yes, I agree, but you know that there is a spirit that drives every set of people.
We are one of the most educated states. So you cannot. It's not about education. It's not about uneducated people. It's an environment.
No, Doc.
We have created, our politicians have created an enabling environment for violence.
Prof,
if you recall,
Prof, 1 second here. 1 second here. What I think Ivy is saying is that it's not all about the politicians. It's just that poor education had made an army ready to be used. Let me just put it this way. If people were actually, Bomo was talking about something that's akin to the struggle for resource control and the fight and all of that. Now, if we were fighting against the Nigerian state, how do we relate that with the destruction of the little that we have? We kill ourselves because we want to fight against the Nigerian state. Bomo, does it make sense?
Well, it doesn't. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But unfortunately, these youths have become cannon fodder. Now,
which goes down to what Ivy is saying, because they are not educated. Because if I was educated and
gainfully employed,
you won't come and tell me to
and gainfully employed.
Yes.
Absolutely, because you claim ownership over your life. You will not listen to anybody cock and bull story coming to, you know, tell you wonderful stories about how you're going to be liberated. If you're gainfully employed, you're going to face your job.
Even if you're not gainfully employed, but you're properly educated, you will not be told cock and bull stories like that.
But because of the very, very severe impact of negative impact of unemployment in our rural economy, particularly the riverine, it's very severe. There they are, more like a oasis of poverty, massive oasis of poverty in a mighty ocean of wealth, sitting just next to them, and they are helpless.
My issue
but then they are now recruited by some individuals to do some dirty work.
My issue is that you destroy yourself, you kill yourself.
Well, it's collateral damage. They are not thinking about themselves. They are just thinking about the moments, immediate self-gratification, and that is what matters to them at the moment. And that's and then when the politicians, you know, abandon them, having achieved their aim, of course the weapon is in their possession.
They are not educated on how to use the weapons.
Yes, they've been educated on how to use the weapons. Their minds are not positively directed. They now become, you know, we become praise to them. They feed on the carcasses of whatever is left. of the politicians, misdemeanor. Unfortunately, we are caught in the crossfire.
Prof.
And also a lack of leadership, in my view.
We need to differentiate a few things. We need to differentiate what's happening in Rivers State now and Nigeria as a whole. There's a palpable difference between the tension in Rivers State and the tension in other parts of the country. I understand resource control, but the violence and tension in Rivers State is not related to resource control. That's the difference.
No, we're not saying that. We've not said that.
And nationwide.
No, Professor Peters, we've not said that.
And the tension is not so much, Prof. The other day I was at the airport, I was traveling out, and at the airport I met members of the APC and the PDP on their way to a tribunal hearing. Now, the whole airport was agog with, so much banter, joy, happiness. I was amazed. I won't want to mention names, but I was in the middle of two politicians, APC on this side, PDP on this side. And we talked and talked, banter, they were hitting each other, we were discussing.
We, that means you're part of it now, you're part of our problem.
No, I said I was in their midst. Did I say we was cut off? I was in their middle now. Sir, can I come? Sir, hold on. Can I finish?
On the newspaper. They are all friends. They are all the same people. That's not the point. One is felt by their followers. What's the reaction of their followers? What is because the police have all sit and drink. It's like we know all of them. They all sit and drink. So that banter that you see, I think, is artificial. Because while they banter and laugh and they message the pass to their followers, what they get their followers to do is not as peaceful as what they show when they meet at parties and even in the house.
But I think that's the point Ivy is trying to make here, Prof. That we send wrong signals. But meanwhile, when we get into our closets, we'll do business. That's the point she's trying to make here. It boils down to the issue of body language.
Yes.
These people come, give us the impression that they are daggers drawn. Then in their quiet moments, they do business.
They do business. And really, which politician did any politician tell you that A sent talks to B? Really? Really, apart from maybe their rallies, which are days of work, where they act drama and but I don't know. I've not heard a politician A say B sent talks to my house for sure. I haven't. So I won't say what I don't know. I will always speak on what I have seen. And what I have seen is this. The politicians are friends. The so-called tension, when we look at it really, the so-called is just in the air. It's not on ground. Because in Port Harcourt here, when one person has a party, A has a party, B attends, and they sit down and drink together. So what tension are we talking about? The insecurity in Rivers State right now is a business that has come to stay, Doc. It's a business that has come to stay, and I am saying that I doubt if it's, I don't know. Yes, politicians may have harmed some people during the last election. I don't know. I won't speak of what I know or what I don't know of. But what I know is that, what I think is that the insecurity, as far as kidnapping goes, is a business that has come. And the sooner we all sit up, rise up with one voice in Rivers State here and fight it, it won't come to an end. They use the politicians as a, what do I call it?
Facade.
Yeah, they'll tell you now these politicians empower us and this and that and that and that, but these are evil boys. My very close friend has just been released. She's on her way out of the country tomorrow. Where we are here blaming the politicians, River State is being demarked. It's turning to worry. In a few years' time now, we won't have anybody living in this city. Whereas we are looking at the politicians. The sooner we rise, Doc, with one voice and speak against this, to leave these politicians.
During the last election, and any other states in the country.
Doc, I wouldn't know. I don't know if you witnessed.
The pictures are there. There were more casualties, there were more deaths, there were more violence in Rivers State during the last election than any other state.
I live in Sasamadi area. I didn't see anything, so I wouldn't know.
We can't listen to what they say. We have to see what they do.
I think, Prof, the issue here is I personally have issues with the level of publicity that crime is given in Port Harcourt.
Yes.
I was in an argument with somebody, a discussion rather with somebody. And I'd like you to address this at the end of the day. And then I asked myself, what's the level of violence, what's the level of crime in Port Harcourt when compared to Lagos? It's nothing. Practically, it's the Port Harcourt has not even started. Why is it that our own is being blown out of proportion? Is there a deliberate attempt by some people to kill business in Port Harcourt, Bomo?
I would say so.
I wouldn't know.
Like I will say, she will say what she doesn't know.
Yes, but the point needs to be made. The media focus on Rivers State is understandable because of the drama that took place when CRA was in office. I obtained drama for obvious reasons, and the Lagos Ibadan,
the Western Press,
of course, feeds on things like this. And then, if you now dial back resource control, you drove out a lot of businesses, and the businesses you drove out all ended up in Lagos. Is a continuation of that drive. Whatever you lose here is somebody's gain, and if they decide
what I find intriguing here is that Lagos you're running to has more cases of violence reported every single day than even Port Harcourt. So what is this that takes it to Lagos? I'm not saying that people should not go to anywhere they want to go do business. Why are we losing? Is it because the Lagos system has a way of, like Ivy has been screaming here all morning, that we need to come back, sit down, stop the blame game, and see how we can protect our state, irrespective of disagreements.
Definitely.
Because, like I said, in Lagos it's common now, even in traffic.
But who are those behind the decision making?
Me?
Are they Rivers? Are they Bayelsa? Are they Delta? The decision-making process starts elsewhere, outside Port Harcourt. It's either in Lagos or Abuja. Are we well represented in these corridors? We're not represented. So we need to get back to the drawing board and agree on the way forward, particularly at least the two states, Bayelsa and Rivers State.
The program is Democracy in Action. My name is Kingsley Wonendawali. Rivers State under siege from the outside, or are we the ones who are creating the environment of violence or supposed violence? Shouldn't we just sit back here and think about what to do with Rivers State, irrespective of our political disagreements? You can join this discussion by calling 0815 5951 951. 0815 5951 951, 0817 0000 951, 0817 0000 951, 0810 9510 951, 0810 9510 951. You can send the text messages to 0701 933 9962, 0701 933 9962. Our state is under siege.
It is.
Obina.
Well, the truth is, a lot has been said, okay? But I will stand on the grounds of values. The truth is, if you take a look at the average Rivers person, all right, I've at least been able to study for quite some time. I realize that there are fundamental issues. For example, a lot of people feel that they've been cheated, but they are not the only state in Nigeria that feels that way. I mean, the Boko Haram guys are doing the same thing. But let me now link it to the fight for the black race in the United States of America. Right, when it started peacefully, okay? They had leaders who were intelligent, who were driving their agenda, okay? And somewhere along the line, they were established as a nation within the American state. Then somewhere down the line, maybe some 20, 30, 40 years down the line, they lost good quality leadership. And they had to toe the line that a lot of our states in Nigeria are told, especially Rivers State. The violence shall take it by force. And we saw the black race in the United States of America decline into a certain level. In fact, the statistics actually had it then that the black American could only succeed either through sports or crime.
So are we saying that we're getting to the level where we're only going to succeed either through crime or sports?
Now let's look at how
because we noticed that most of the boys in the Eaglets are from the Niger Delta area.
Niger Delta area. Now, if you look at how they decided, because they had to sit down and ask themselves the real questions, and now they are coming out of it. And look at it today. We have a Black American president. How did they decide to solve these issues? It was simple. Go back to what worked before and apply the same principle. Principles are constant. They are not variables. So until Rivers people, like Ivy said, like Mama said, if we don't sit down, first of all, let me borrow Ross's and count how many of us are present in this whole thing.
The Jesus
principle. If we don't sit down first, my brother, we are not going anywhere.
I agree.
Hello? Bobo.
Yes.
Did you just hear Obina talk about the Jesus principle? Remember the Jesus principle?
Yes, it's going like it's going back to brass tacks.
It's important that we let Ivy and others know what the Jesus principle is.
It's actually the parable of the 5 fishes and the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes
and sardine.
And sardine, yes.
Indeed.
And there were 5,000 people.
There were people there. There were people there.
And you know the usual frenzy. You know, 5 loaves and 2 fishes. 5,000. Is it possible to feed 5,000 people with that? But sit down.
Jesus said, "Sit down."
Sit down.
Praise God.
And
sit
count.
down and count.
Let us know. So we need to sit down
first,
count, take stock of what's happening in River State for us to be.
Certainly, because you talked about Lagos now. Okay, you talked about how they tend to curb all of these happenings. And I was born in Lagos and I grew up in Lagos. Lagos is the only state in Nigeria that has seen 2 major ethnic groups clash in its state, and they still dealt with the situation.
And nobody moved.
Now, we need to understand that the people of Lagos, first of all, they abhor some certain things. Like if kidnapping as it starts, let's say kidnapping starts in Lagos again. The people of Lagos, first of all, they take a stand against it. And once they see it, that's why it's very difficult to deal with jungle justice in Lagos. Because the people on their own abhor things that will bring a negative image.
I will not subscribe to the contribution when they say we should now resort to
we're not resorting to that.
Okay, let me take a couple of text messages here. Emma from Abba says, talking about democracy in Nigeria, I have this question for the gentlemen and lady in the studio. Can we say that we are practicing democracy now in Nigeria? Sorry, I'm not sure I can continue with that text message because it's not intended what we're discussing this morning. My bros, Wenenda and Co. Lack or limited education has very little to do with the situation. Youths in fishing and farming before now were not educated, but were happy being engaged. With pollution everywhere, how do the youths farm or fish? Federal government is deliberately destroying our youths by their obnoxious laws. A hungry man is an angry man. Survival is the first principle of existence. Resource control is the ultimate answer. Omobo Lawson. Prof.
Yes.
The problem we have is that the system itself is making it impossible for people to be gainfully engaged, and they say the idle mind is the playground for the devil. Has the Port Harcourt system created a legion, an army of idle minds that are creating problems for us all over the whole place? Prof?
Thank you. Again, I want to say that the problem of youth unemployment, problem of education is nationwide. But the degree of violence in River State is not matched anywhere else. So we need to look inwards. We cannot keep looking outward. Our problem is inward. The problem is an environment that encourages this kidnapping, that the power boys to go this route, and more importantly, a lack of resistance from one, the people, two, the government, three, the security apparatus. Crime does not occur in a vacuum. If you recall, when Chinita came to power, he refused to negotiate with these people, and we went from anarchy to at least a semblance of peace in Rivers State for a period of time. Because leadership at that time said, we will not tolerate it. They empowered the police, they equipped them, and in return, the citizens stood up, and that combination at least kept the lead on the violence. I'm afraid that the environment has changed, and now we're seeing a rise in the things that we thought we had forgotten. You remember, Rivers was a jungle, and people were scared. There was no nightlife, there was,
No, Prof, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question? Let me ask you a question, Prof. Now, I mean, from your comment, you're saying somebody came in, stepped in forcefully, provided leadership. Now, don't you think that it continued after that it was no longer available because it was not systematic? There was no institutional development of the war against crime.
Thank you.
Other people were not engaged. It was a one-man show. And like every other one-man show, the man gets out of the scene, then we will turn back to ground zero.
Unfortunately, the way security in Nigeria is based on government. And our Nigerian police, the central police, unfortunately, the state government has to fight its local wars. And if you take away that support, and if you take effort where if you call the police officer, he's asking for money for petrol because before he goes to find her, he kidnapper you can't the numbers of kids or violent people thrive when there's no resistance. That resistance, I do say, can come from the people, I agree. But it has to be emboldened by a government that says this is unacceptable, by a government that says, police, if you don't have this, we will help you get it. If you don't have it, then we will equip you. So that you can push back on these people. And it's a combination of factors that will stem this violence.
Okay, I'll get back to you. Yeah. Bomo.
Yes.
You had Prof. He's beginning to get back to where we were.
Well, if you recall one of our discussions between the strong man and strong institutions, is going back there. CRA has left the scene. The institutions are unable to deal with crime and whatever. A new person is in the saddle, and we're still back to square one. Basically because you have a centralized security configuration, and it will continue to be like this for as long as we can determine. Maybe what we need to go back to do is community security, a community security framework, like you have in Lagos, the Odua People's Congress, where they provide this security thing, but then they need to be supervised by the police.
Okay. My guest, Ivy Davis Itoapan, and Bomo Abatugwara and Professor Iyala Peter said, there's a consensus here that the people need to be involved in this war against crime.
Yes.
How well is the community involved in this fight to gain back our city?
The community is not involved at all as at now, and for me, I think it's due to a lack of leadership. We no longer
political
have
leadership or community leadership.
Community leadership.
Okay.
Our people in River State now, you hardly have a situation where there is an issue here, and we go to this leader, be he an elder, be he the chief, the ballet of the place, Amayanabo, that would now say, oh, okay, now this is what
that's
we should
something
do.
you just left out. You said be ballet.
Nyewele.
You didn't say Nyewele.
We didn't add Nyewele. That's a faux pas.
Yes. I'm an Ikwere girl. My grandmom is from Elele, right? I can
That's
even
a serious omission.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Well, I'm going to ignore that.
Okay, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Although they contribute, to the problems we have now, to Ikore sons politically, giving us so much headache. Well, back to what we're saying.
I will report that about Ikore. Go ahead.
No, well. So no leadership, sort of. So nobody giving instructions or directions or guidance or counseling to anybody. I think that's one thing we are lacking, and then coming back to community, what did you call it now? Community policing. The area where I live in River State, we have that kind of, we have an active vigilante. Matter of fact, it's on record that if you're driving, perhaps hoodlums, you see some trouble on the road and you're trying to run for safety, immediately you get to my roundabout and you divert right, you are safe. That's because we have an active vigilante group there. So what's also happening? Where are the vigilante groups? Where are the vigilante groups? Like, we're recalling a woman was kidnapped and taken into a hideout about 7:10 in the morning, into a flat, a block of 4 flats. Flat here, flat here, flat here, flat here, shops in front. How possible is it that, the neighbors who do know that these boys hanging around here are funny, are fishy, nobody's reporting anything? In the heat of all that, we're asking questions. Why didn't anyone say they are afraid? Afraid of what? If I am in my shop and I make an anonymous call to say that these are... So, collective responsibility. The police in Rivers State, they are not helping matters. The Rivers people are not on top of their game. The elders in Rivers State, the ones who should call elders, the men that grew up in Rivers State that had good upbringing, we have 2 of them in the station here. They know, I would say that, everybody is not taking responsibility where they ought to. So I think it has come to that point where we'll all get up, sit up, irrespective of your political affiliations, where you support, where your bread comes from, where it doesn't come from, who you love, who you don't love. It's time to take action as a people. That's what I think.
Well, I'm wondering, I think there's no been here, there's a bomber here.
I'm out of it because I was born and bred in Lagos. Sorry.
Not that I recall. Ever since I was a small girl, you have always been a factor.
Everybody's claiming to come from Lagos. Why don't you recreate the Lagos scenario here? Why is it so difficult for us to take charge?
In my neighborhood, we'll have what you call Olara. That's Ohiamini Layout, Residential Association, and we have a security committee. That police station you see by the Borough Pit, Timothy Lane, we built it. And we're putting the policemen on allowance, monthly allowance.
So what it simply means is that your immediate community is being active.
Yes.
So how do we get to a point where it's a much more broad-based reaction to the situation we have found ourselves? Ivy was talking about protocol people getting up. You understand?
Yes.
All these isolated cases of protect my kitchen, protect my sitting room, and all of that, it's not helping anybody. It's like when people go around with policemen in the vehicles, all of that. When on a street, on a particular street, just 2 or 3 policemen can maintain security in that area. Meanwhile, on that same street, you have like 20 people who go around the town with over 40 policemen, and nobody is secure. So why don't we grow a system? What's stopping us from growing a system where there's a leadership that the leadership will come and say, this is the way to go?
You're back to my issue. We are already, Nigerians are living behind bars. Every home has, 10-feet walls, up wires, all are reinforced. We are prisoners now. This proposal that we should position ourselves, this is not a long-term solution. We have tried it. Unfortunately, we have to see our homes. If you form a vigilante in your small, unfortunately, you have to drive to the bank. We cannot. This is not a solution. This is a makeshift. This is when people don't trust the authority to protect them, then they try to protect themselves. The problem with that is it's limited, it's fraught with danger, and it's very selective.
Professor Ayala, you also have vigilante in the United States of America. It is not makeshift. No, there are vigilantes in the U.S. Yes, there are captains of vigilantes in neighborhoods.
Okay.
The fact that we don't trust our security system is not new. It's not news in Nigeria. Our police has failed us.
To call the police and give them information about the crime going on, knowing that before I finish dropping the phone, the police, some corrupt policeman would have called the person for the killing, and my life is in danger. I will not call them.
Okay, we'll get back.
They can drive 100 miles an hour. The reason they don't drive 100 miles an hour is because I know that at the next corner, I'm going to press policeman with a radar shooting me and pulling me over.
Okay, thank you, Prof. I think we need to let you go now, Prof. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
God bless you.
Thank you, Prof.
All right. We'll be right back.
People say a lot about our democracy.
It's not over. We're going to expect more.
Some say what they know.
Is it that we deceive ourselves or not willing to discuss our differences?
Others say what they think is right.
The political will to effect that law is what we are
It
lacking.
takes 3 persons to eat 15 naira bread. I disagree with you on that.
What are you saying?
Immediately the president won election, he went to Britain. He has not gone to River State. He has not gone to Benue. He has not gone to this country.
Join Kingsley Welenda Wali every Saturday on this station from 11 a.m. to 12.
My name is Kingsley Wanenda Wali.
And the program is Democracy in Action on Today 95.1 FM. Port Harcourt.
I believe in you. Do you believe in me?
Welcome back to Democracy in Action. My name is still Kingsley Wanenda Wali. We are discussing our Port Harcourt community and the high rise of violence. I'm trying to ask ourselves if there's a nexus between the level of insecurity in our city and in our state with the language of politics. Let me just read out text messages. Some text messages before we continue from there. Hi, Democracy in Action. I strongly believe that politicians can. I strongly believe that politicians cannot be exonerated from the high rate of illiteracy among the youths, especially in the South-South region, which in turn results to youth violence. I think to curb youth violence, we must invest in education and industrialization. However, we must not play down the importance of morals, just as Oga Obina said. Obina, so you're now, Oga. Until we have politicians who have genuine intentions to lead the people out of the present political doldrum, other than those who want to grab power by all means, the security situation in the state will not abate, okay? Because this uncultured class of politicians are those who arm these youths to carry out such nefarious activities like kidnapping, armed robbery, etc. Yeche from Roma Lumini. Hector from Tumbia. Talking about insecurity in the state currently, there is no security present in my community, Tumbia. I'll be sorry. There is no police station for more than a decade now in Tumbia. Please, the authority concerned should restore security in Tumbia. Ivy?
It's true.
This is very much in your kitchen.
But he's very correct.
Now, why wouldn't there be a police post in a place as turbulent as Tumbia? Doesn't that go to show that there's a system
breakdown?
But not just breakdown, a deliberate attempt to make us look bad?
I wouldn't say that because I'm a Tumbia woman and I lived in that community.
Now I'm confused. 1 second you are the Kwere woman, then a second you are the... And I know you're from Akwa Ibom, so I'm not even sure they would want to believe.
Okay, well, I'm a Rivers woman by birth. I'm married to an Akwa Ibom man proudly. So
you're an Akwa Ibom person.
Any attempt to remove my portion in this River State, it will not work. So, well, back to what I was saying, Tombia, the case of Tombia, I will link it back to the case of lack of leadership.
Okay.
And illiteracy, I'll put it back there, because back then, when this whole crisis in Tombia started, I think when I finished my youth service in 93, I was caught up in Tombia for like 1 week due to breakdown. So that's why when people say the current problem is political, as in the politics of, I say it's not that.
Just because politicians took advantage.
They just took advantage, because Tombia has had that community, this situation. Way back, even 8 years ago, when I wanted to bury my grandmom and I needed police protection, due to 1 or 2 challenges in my father's house, I asked for police protection. The police in River State, represented by the commissioner at that time, told me that they can't give me any policeman to go with me into Tombia. So the situation of Tombia is that bad, and all through that the administration that followed, even in that time, nothing was done concerning the Tombia situation. Now the Tombia situation will take us like 4 weeks of continuous discussion, Kingsley. So what that young man said is true, but I put it down to no leadership, low education, therefore no alternative. Now people must eat. Somebody talked about our fishing ponds and all that. Yes, that's why I said illiteracy, because if I can't fish, but if my mind is working, there's so much I can do. But if my mind is not equipped, there's very little. So I'll still think that this pond, since it's my fishing pond, I can't fish here. Therefore everybody must die. Must it be that? No, if I can't fish here, I should be able to do some other things. But I may not be able to do some other things because my mind is not working.
Prepared.
Bobo. What? Tombia?
No, because Tombia, it's
a metaphor.
Yes.
Tombia is a metaphor, yes, because before we came back on air, I told you what we did in my own residential area. We had to come together. I've been a victim of robbery. I refused going to the police for obvious reasons, because my neighbor, who was equally attacked that very night, went there and he was threatened by a gang member. So he had to withdraw and transferred to Benin. He worked in a bank. So I didn't bother myself. I just
we need to be talking about what to do.
That's where I'm going.
Yes.
Now, because of the rampancy of these cases, Olara community had to come together, and that's how that police station was built. It cost us 2 million. And of course they didn't help us. They insisted we must furnish it.
So what you're saying in essence is that the community has to come together.
The community must come together. A self-help. A self-help. We must come together. The police has been parroting community policing. I'm not seeing it on the ground. You have a police public relations committee in all the police stations. I'm not seeing it on the ground.
Can we just move away from police or no police? Well,
but you must work with them.
No, you must work with them, because taking it back to where Ivy started, the people need to provide leadership, because it's a fundamental problem here.
Yes.
We lack some person that can say, okay, let's run to this person, because even if you looked at the bigger River State issue, I don't know of any set of 2 or 3 or 4 people that can say, come. While you come, you question come. What is the problem?
What about the Amayabo of Tombia?
No, see, you're insisting
you don't
on
have
Bobo.
We don't have. Let's Tombia
I refuse to drag this discussion to one small unit.
No, it's a metaphor.
No, I'm saying that
it's a
when
metaphor.
you went back to Tombia, I'm saying that as a state, we need to get to the point when people need to rise up, not in arms.
But somebody has to lead.
Somebody, yeah, that's somebody you're talking about. So it's not really blaming the police, blaming the youth, blaming politicians. Those who are free of blame, in quotes, why don't they put themselves as a unit and begin to correct this? That's what I think
that is where we are. I've given an example of my own residential community. That's what we did, and we're still sustaining ourselves. We have a chairman who coordinates everything. There's a CSO who relates with the police. We have their numbers, and then if we have any issues around us,
you're still going back to your small community. I'm saying,
you use that as a
River
unit.
State. Let's use River State for example.
You cannot use it for River State.
Yes.
Now, you need to organize from the base. you can replicate it from the unit level down to a collection
Where are
of
the
units.
leaders? Where are the leaders in River State?
The leaders in River State, like I said before, we have 2 of them in the station right now, because I will soon be 50, and these men are a little bit older than me, and so that tells me that they are the Obinna. Don't you see them as leaders?
Well, they are leaders.
They are leaders because
I'm surprised.
They are leaders because let's stop looking at the generation before us, to lead. That time has passed. They are leaders now. In my father's house now, I should be able to give directions. My husband is head of his father's house. He gives directions to men who are, So it behoves us, or it should start with these 2 men in the station here.
Yes, we need to appeal to them. We need to appeal to the 2 men in the station so that they can take out this fight to outside, so that they can call their type.
Something has to happen. If you have a strong personality such that you intimidate others just by appearing, you can be at the background.
But I wasn't going to talk about responsibility now, talking about leadership. It's two-sided, okay? There's the part where people will lead, and there's a part where people will choose to follow. It's unfortunate that we have a generation of young people who don't understand what followership means. You cannot lead somebody who cannot follow.
Because it never happened here.
No.
In other parts it happened, but in Rivers, Bayelsa, Niger Delta, as a people.
Now, it now goes back to the values that is supposed to be birthed at the family level before it now progresses to the communal level. Because the truth is, if you look at the average young person in this state, okay, you are seeing someone who has the potential to be a rebel. Let me not call the person a rebel, okay, but someone who has the potential to be a rebel, someone who does not want to listen to authority.
There's nothing wrong with being a rebel. As I said, potential
without a cause.
Okay, now the truth.
That's the point.
That's the thing. Without a cause.
Without a cause.
Someone who doesn't want to listen to authority.
Everybody's
at all levels. At all levels, starting from the family all the way to the state. Now, if that same system will give birth to whoever is going to sit in there as governor, then there's a problem.
Where are the fathers?
Hilda Dokubo and I, we had a discussion recently. Hilda, she would try to. She's trying to, bring together these men. Like I said, that we have 2 of that type in the station this morning, to forge a way forward.
I think we should invite these 2 men to the studio to come and discuss. I'd rather give them microphones.
Well, the men I'm referring to, Kingsley Wale, and Bomo Ogwara, both of them, they have their friends. They know. We're talking about sincerity. Now, if we are sincerely looking for a way forward, we should have a leadership group. In Lagos, they have, boys that they look up to. Egbon, Abi?
Yes, that's what they call.
They have Egbon. There are Egbons everywhere. And this Egbon is a responsibility, agreed. You give and you take, but you are a leader. You give direction. Now and then, you may give different things, but let's the Niger Delta, we don't have that leadership. In Niger Delta, everybody is king, and because everybody is king,
I think you just got it there. I think she just hit the nail on the head, hit the head on the nail, whichever. But the most important thing, I think, the biggest threat to security in River State, you can generalize it to Niger Delta, is the fact that everybody is a king. One more. How do we resolve this issue? A situation where, because it's so easy to point fingers, issue blames, left, right, and center. But the fact, like Obinna said too, is if you have a system where nobody's ready to follow, everybody wants to lead, everybody is king, what's the way forward?
There is no way everybody can be king. Everybody can never be king.
Are you saying there's no way, or that's not the situation on ground?
That's not the situation.
What is the situation on ground?
Where are the fathers? It's because of the absence of fathers in the home.
That's a contradiction. That's a contradiction here.
It's not.
No, it is a contradiction.
I'm amplifying what Ivy said.
No. Why I say it's a contradiction is the fact that...
Yes.
1 second. Is the fact that because the fathers have refused to play their role as fathers and as leaders, everybody now thinks it's okay to behave the way you like.
And then the fathers must go back and assume the roles that they were destined to play.
No, but when we're growing up, we didn't grow up just by the examples our fathers set in the home. We didn't. growing up in those days used to be a communal thing, in the sense that if I remember my closest
the
friend
home
at that
is
time,
the first teacher of the child,
Yeah.
not the community.
Agreed.
The community is the second level.
Agreed.
The home is your first teacher.
Agree, but the community played a huge role. There were lots of families where the fathers were absent.
Well, the community has collapsed.
Let her finish.
And those children still, grew up to be, reasonable members of the society. So we can start. Yes, everybody is king here, no followership, but let us start first.
I think just to add to that, we're talking about Lagos. Okay, we're appreciating the fact that a lot of things are going well, despite the fact that things are still going wrong underneath. I think Lagos is one of the few states in Nigeria where you misbehave outside as a child, they beat you, they bring you home, your parents beat you extra.
That's not the Lagos I know. The Lagos I know is the Lagos where everybody is free to do whatever, but the system has a way
because
of...
you lived in VI.
Certainly. I lived on the mainland, then graduated to the...
That was before.
in the VI side.
I think we're running out of time. We should round up. Bomo, what's the way forward? How do we get back Port Harcourt? How do we get back Rivers State?
You get back Rivers State, you get back Port Harcourt by going back to the community level. You must start from the community level, the family unit, as a building block. You must reorientate our values. We must reorientate our value system to appreciate the fact that we were once one. And then something happened along the line, but we need to go back. Without that, it's going to be, very, very difficult.
Have your closing statement?
My closing statement is, we need to identify that the challenge we have in front of us is a challenge for all, and so all hands must be on deck for us to fight this menace. Just like the Boko Haram, when they came initially and people were saying, oh, these people is using against that. But right now we've come to understand that it's a menace, it's a threat to all of us, and we all must put hands on the deck. So I'll be calling, especially on some people will term leaders in Port Harcourt. We look up to them. When we're growing up, we used to look up to them so much, and they know themselves. I won't mention names here, but can we come together, drop all these our affiliations, and begin to chart a way forward, first of all for the city? See that this threat is a threat to all of us, whether we like it or not. In 5 years time at this rate, we won't have anybody in Port Harcourt again. It will be just these kidnappers and all of that. I don't know whether we want this to happen to us. So can Port Harcourt, the soul of Port Harcourt, the heart of Port Harcourt, can they come together and chart a cause? From there, everybody will take it to their community. Everybody will now understand that, look, I'm a community head. The future or the growth of my community depends on me. And we'll begin to replicate. They'll begin to replicate, we'll begin to bet. I see a new Niger Delta coming. And it will happen in Jesus' name.
Amen
to that.
Well, we have an issue, and well, at least we agreed on one thing. That's we have an issue. We probably are not agreed on what and how to go, but one thing is certain, that we need to rise up and save our society. Ivy says that there are people who grew up in this town who have enjoyed the benefit of a good yesterday. They must come together irrespective of their political affiliations. And basically, if it's about Rivers State, if it's about the people, why should we tear the state apart? If it's about the people, why should we find it difficult to come together and say, okay, look, I think we are crossing the line here? And for those who are not politically engaged, Ivy is calling on you, if I'm not mistaken, to say, come together and try to caution those who think that River State can be treated any which way they like. And at the end of the day, I pray that it never gets to the point where there will be nobody. At least because if we allow this place to turn to Beirut, we will all lose out, and then it won't be the same Port Harcourt that we all ever were boastful of. Ivy, thank you very much for finding time to be with us this morning. I'm believing that as we go on, whatever platform that's available, you use it to preach what you've been preaching all morning. And Bomo, Ivy has challenged you and the other guy that you guys should go out there.
Why are you removing
Excuse
yourself?
Excuse me. My closing statement, I didn't interrupt yours. Thank you very much. Ivy has challenged you that you should, with your colleagues, whether political or apolitical, formally start discussing how to protect this town, because we can't run away from this town. This town is ours. For you listeners out there, you have a role to play in this. Stand firm, stand up and be counted. Do not feel intimidated. Say what you think is right for the community. Speak your mind at all times. Let your conscience rule you. And I'm sure you'll never get it wrong. You have a pleasant, wonderful weekend. My name is Kingsley Wenendawali. Bye-bye.